Hey everyone, so in this video I'm going to talk about equipment and logistics in my strategy-based piano lessons. And I know a lot of the time in these sorts of videos people have like a list of all the different specific items on Amazon to purchase. I am not trying to do that. First of all, I don't specifically remember the models of everything, unfortunately. And secondly, it's more to just get across, like in general, what types of equipment do I use, what do I not use, and so on compared to other teachers. And in terms of logistics, I'm not really trying to, in detail teach how to run this format or anything, more just the general gist of it. So yeah, I'm basically only teaching these strategic team sessions at this point, focused around strategy, mindset, specializing around basically only the serious adult amateur for the most part at this point. And yeah, so in terms of overall setup, it may look something like this. Usually this tablet maybe is up here, but I just put my phone here, it's a little easier to see. And there could be more devices around here. This is my tea over here. Behind me, you can see that there's two high-end keyboards, and of course my baby grand in this little studio that we have here. So, whoops, didn't mean to flip that around. So in general, and I want to say also, this is not all my original idea in terms of the setup. There are other teachers that will do certainly like some kind of in-person group format, online group format. I'm sure that there's hybrid as well as in this one. My teams are basically the highest level group format that I know of, at least, that is specialized around adults and that lets everyone advance extremely quickly using my methodologies, as you guys may have seen from other videos on the channel. So in general, I have to use a computer. So, my Pro, technically it's my wife's MacBook Pro here, because this is the only one that can run Zoom breakout rooms. And that is a crucial part of the lessons for independent practice. Not going to go very deeply into it, but that's the general idea. So usually I show up here at my little desk area and I start the Zoom meeting, which I've started just now. And then I have these Fire tablets, Amazon Fire tablets. I could have gotten, I guess, more iPads. That it probably still would have been worth it overall, but mostly these are just windows, which I'll kind of explain in a second, and then just kind of like log in with these. They really just function as silent windows within the breakout rooms that we create in the Zoom meeting. So I just sign in using these. It's probably a faster way to do it. But they're a cheaper option if you're just, I don't even use them for sound, to be honest. So I'm just kind of like logging in with these Fire tablets. And yeah, so I've got two of them here. Sometimes I'll use my wife's iPads as well if there's really like too many people. Usually it's like 5 or 6 people, or less, somewhere around that amount. So then I'm admitting these tablets that I just put up there. And at this point, apparently you can also kind of minimize like the the Zoom window. If I join on my iPad, my main iPad here, and then I go like this, at this point I guess you just kind of exist in miniature, just like FaceTime, and this way you can continue to do other things on the iPad at the same time. So anyway, all that to say, I start the Zoom meeting. So I have this MacBook Pro. I think it's from like 2019. I definitely am wanting to upgrade. I have this phone that I'm talking on now, which I think is the 11 Pro Max, which I also want to upgrade. right away. And so, I think it's worth it to invest in newer, and at this point, honestly, I'm wanting to just upgrade like all these things, or at least the computer and phone, my like main devices, because of the value that they can bring to the lessons, in terms of like video quality, audio quality, functionality, and so on. And you have to be pretty smart about, just setting up things so that it's pretty easy to charge all these different devices that are around, so that nothing dies during the lesson itself. So, we've set it up so that it's pretty easy to charge everything. I don't think I've ever run out of battery for any of these main devices. So anyway, so then like the meeting's going on, I join with these different devices, and basically you can set it up so that in the meeting you can create these breakout rooms, and usually I select this, right? So like right now we have these devices here, and usually there are students that'll join, and then I'll put one student in each room if they're doing independent practice, and then I'll put one of me in each room, like one of these Fire tablets, and then I'll just open the rooms. And basically what happens is that student A will show up there, student B will show up over there, and over here it might be that like this is the room with, actually I don't remember which one is which, but in any case, like there will be a student and then one of me in this room, and then there'll be a student and one of me in this room, and basically we'll be able to see but not hear each other. And they were doing independent practice during that time, like I mentioned. I can also join like with my computer itself, with the MacBook itself. Okay, so then this would be where I would see like a third student, for instance, over here. And again, the reason I have the laptop is because you have to run breakout rooms through a laptop, or a desktop, I suppose. And through an iPad, you certainly can't do it through a phone. So that's like the central hub here. And then when we do independent practice within the format, I put all the mobile students within these different breakout rooms. And also I guess I could just show you the, on my iPad itself. So let me try joining with my iPad. Okay. So now I've joined with that. So yeah, in terms of other equipment, I have this large iPad Pro, and I have this Magic Keyboard as well, and this Apple Pencil. And so as you guys have seen in a lot of other videos, I'm always like marking up scores and everything. And maybe you don't know, but usually if I'm typing away, I'm actually typing on this keyboard. I got some cat hair here. So, once you go like this, it'll minimize here, which it didn't used to do, apparently. Let me see. So then sometimes if I'm wanting to mark up something, like I've done in previous videos, I can actually minimize this in case like I'm also using the iPad as well. And then I can go ahead and mark stuff. And, as you've seen in a lot of other videos, I think that this is honestly way better than traditional screen sharing, at least for me, because I can literally mark things like with the Apple Pencil. So when I'm teaching, instead of being on I guess you could screen share through, through the iPad, and you could still mark it this way and everything. But I just find that flipping the camera back and forth, just like I'm doing in the videos, I feel like it creates a very natural, organic atmosphere. And it's like, you can like actually see my hand and everything like that. So for me, that's something that early on, I think I deviated from other teachers. Everybody else was doing screen sharing and all of that. And I was just literally holding my phone with my other hand like this. Right. And so then I'll mark people's scores and, just draw markings, draw fingerings, and all that sort of thing. So basically now that this iPad has joined, it's like I could assign this to another breakout room. And so at this point, it's like this iPad's entered like another separate room within the meeting, and then I would be able to continue to see that student over here. So there would be like one student over there, one student over there, one student over there, and then like one in this little window here. And again, we can see each other but not hear each other. Everybody's doing independent practice. And to clarify, breakout rooms, I mean, they're like separate rooms that exist within the meeting. Probably a lot of you have used these for work and so on. There's no need to mute yourself either. Now, in terms of the in-person, the purpose of the breakout rooms is like people are working on their own independent pieces, their own goal pieces. It doesn't matter about level. It doesn't matter if people show up 15 minutes late, which they do, 30 minutes late, which they do, or if there's like 3-4 other people that have been on this team for, like 6 months and then a new person joins. It doesn't matter whatsoever if you're a total beginner or whatever it may be, because the work is completely independent. Everybody's working on their own goal pieces or dream pieces. And, it allows everybody to just work in total silence because they're in their own isolated rooms. And honestly, being able to see each other, it is for the feel of it, so that they just don't feel like they're alone. Honestly, it's probably more important for children than for adults. I find a lot of adults, after the initial novelty wears off, they don't really care if they can see me while they're doing independent practice. And then, most people, they actually like that I can see them and so on. Some actually turn their cameras on. Maybe they don't like being watched. So anyway, so then here, let me turn this around. We have this couch here. This guy's name's Donut. So this, usually you put your hands in here and like you can lie down and rest, I guess. So, so sometimes students are like sitting over here when they come in. Of course, we have the baby grand piano here, Boston, from Steinway Hall in Midtown. And so this is of course the nicest instrument in the room. Sometimes I'll draw up a chair and listen to the student here or whatever it may be. If they're performing, usually if everybody's performing for each other, then I might actually put the computer like this, and my phone, well, I guess I can't show you my phone because I'm holding it, but usually I put it like this, then the audio is coming through the phone, and then, we can like watch mobile students performing on here. Obviously, we can see the in-person student performing there, like if people are performing for each other, giving comments and so on. Took a little bit of working out the logistics because, you don't want to have audio feedback from multiple audio sources, but, found some creative solutions. So for instance, if a student's like sitting right over there, they can be watching this student performing. The audio is coming through my phone, which I put over here. And then maybe like other students are still practicing there. And then, maybe I'm like typing something to like another student, or I'm like, making markings on another students' music and so on. Anyway, and then we have these Kawaii CA49s. I really swear by these keyboards, and or their predecessors or related keyboards, because honestly, when I was a student at Manhattan School of Music, it was very difficult to get enough time to practice. Well, actually at NYU as well, but especially Manhattan School of Music. And so, I used the Kawaii C200, which I still have in my wife and I's main apartment, and that is it's just lasted me all these years. I mean, it's probably since 2011, 2012, something like that. No, it definitely was. So I would get up and like practice on that instrument at 4 a.m. After going for a run, and I was able to just practice for several hours before then going to practice on the grands at Manhattan School of Music. You just couldn't reserve enough practice time. And the important thing for serious pianists, whether classical or otherwise, I think is, the touch and the sound. of the keyboard. And to some extent, this might be, people might disagree, but to some extent, the touch is even more important because, if the sound isn't like the best, hypothetically, if you can still simulate the touch and you have the sound in your imagination, it'll probably still transfer over well to, a grand piano. In my opinion, if the touch is not there, though, it's very hard to like completely imagine like the feel all. I guess if you could, then you wouldn't. You really could do purely mental practice without any physical practice at all. Anyway, I'm getting kind of sidetracked, I guess. But the most important thing is that the work transfers over to a real instrument. You don't want to practice on a keyboard. So I recommend at least a fully weighted 88 key, full-size keyboard with 3 pedals. There are keyboards, so sometimes I mention the Korg B2 SP, the Donner DDP90. Never tried them myself, but they're keyboards like within like at the moment of this video, $600 to $800 price range, that at least they meet those specifications. And I think that they're pretty good. I've had students that have used them. These Kawai CA49s that I showed you just a moment ago, they're around 3,000 now, I think, but I think very, very worth it. Oh, it got a lot darker for some reason. The keys are made of wood. I still think the action is better than any other keyboard that I've played. They're definitely not portable. You're not going to be able to move this. Even if you're a really strong guy, you've got to have 2 people to like carry this down the hall. So, but that speaks to the quality of its construction, I think. I've always been very happy with it. So I bought 2 of them at the beginning of this, end of last year, beginning of this year. And then we also have these Audio Technica headphones, and we have 2 pairs of headphones for each keyboard. 2 pairs over here as well. So that's the case there. They slide out like this, and usually students come in, maybe they turn on these like lights here. So I also have like a light for each one. Turn it on like this, and then they'll start doing independent practice, right? They'll put on one of these pairs of headphones, and then they'll just be practicing here on their own. And I'll like come over if I want to listen to them, just like if I were listening to the people in the Zoom breakout rooms. So yeah, I think that's probably the gist of it. I do have a tripod like over there. It's I've only used it a few times this year, to be honest. Like mainly I'm using these types of stands, the stands that you see over here and so on. I haven't really found that necessary to use overhead view and all that. So you would be surprised. I mean, this video is already like almost 20 minutes long, so I think I'm gonna start to wrap it up here. But in the beginning, I was intimidated by how there were some teachers that would have 3-4 different professional camera angles, fancy equipment, and nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think it's great. I mean, I'm sure it's a valuable asset in their lessons. It's just that we haven't needed it. Usually I'm just propping my phone like on the side over it. Like I just put it on the side so that people can see me here. Something like, I don't think I can change the video orientation right now because I'm recording. But usually it's vertical, and then they can see me and the keyboard here. And if needed, then I'll just hold the phone like this. This is like your ultra low tech overhead view, and kind of demonstrate here. But the vast majority of the time, I think a very common question from beginners, total beginners, and intermediate advanced students too, is like, but like, won't it be hard to, show me how to play something? Also, like for mobile lessons, like, how am I going to be able to ask this or that, complicated question and so on. And basically in a nice way, I say that they're not going to have to do that. I'm going to make it so they don't have to ask really complex questions that require tons and tons of back and forth. The being able to see like an overhead view, where every single finger is so that they can copy what it is that I'm playing, that's not going to be necessary because they'll have so much independence and so much understanding of strategy that they're not going to need it. The idea that we have to set up all these different angles to gather the necessary visual and auditory information, right? That this is where people will just jump to a conclusion, both students and teachers, like, I'm going to need to have this angle, this setup, so that I can get this result. And many times you don't. Many times, a very, very simple setup, I need a shockingly small amount of information to gather all the necessary visual, auditory, in fact, I don't need to see it to be able to gather the auditory information. So I think in wrapping this video up, just to sum up, why do I use the equipment that I use and why do I choose to not use certain other equipment? I've just considered everything that helps me get to the result that we're looking for. I mean, me and the students. So, right, we're looking for a way to have independent practice, all different levels, no matter how huge, and there's very ambitious people in the studio, and then there's those that are doing it kind of relatively more casually. So, so we got all the equipment, the 2 keyboards, 2 pairs of headphones each, all these tablets with the Zoom breakout rooms. This makes it so that all of the independent practice is possible. And it is an investment. I mean, you could have, cheaper equipment as well. You don't have to have keyboards that are quite as nice as this, definitely. But I found that it's worth it for the quality of students that the studio is attracting. And, you want to make it easy to collaborate. So when people are performing for each other, they can, sit on this couch, they can join the main Zoom room, that they have a nice instrument to perform on and everything for each other. I think that's really important. Being able to seamlessly show students, things on the screen, mark in their music, it's highly visually on my iPad, being able to send iMessages back and forth very easily, being able to type things very quickly and easily, showing them my low-tech, overhead view or, views at the piano. But all of that, this other equipment, Magic Keyboard, Apple Pencil, iPad Pro and all that, I think that's made the job way easier. But yeah, there's unconventional solutions in there. So that's why I use all the equipment that I do. And that's my overall reasoning behind it. Let me know if you have questions. I know some of this was kind of wordy probably, but hopefully it lets you understand my way of thinking. Happy to clarify anything if it's confusing. And if you found this valuable, please like and subscribe, leave a comment, and looking forward to next time.